Hi, Jen Tinline here from stampwithjen.com. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make this beautiful fall card. So for this card you're going to need stamp sets. French foliage is the main one, and a word set. I've got here Perfectly Penned or 1 in a Million will be fine. Crumb Cake ink, Cajun Craze ink, Pool Party ink, and Versamark. I've also got some antique brads here, some sponges, scissors, bone folders, all the stuff we regularly use. Then some clear embossing powder and your heat tool. Paper sizes, you're going to need a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 Cajun Craze, a piece of Very Vanilla 5 1/4 by 4, a piece of Pool Party 2 1/4 by 2, and another piece of Vanilla 2 by 1 3/4, and then a couple pieces of Pool Party ribbon, seam binding ribbon, and the taffeta crumb cake ribbon. First step is to fold your card in half. Just line up the edges. Use your bone folder to give a nice sharp crease. So the next step, I'm going to stamp with Versamark ink. This is that sticky ink that will stay wet for a few minutes. I'm going to stamp it on the edge of this paper with a couple of the leaf shapes. Now, it's almost impossible to see this, especially on camera, but even in person it's hard to see when you're stamping. You just kind of got to remember where you've stamped. You can always add more in after. So I'm doing just a couple of random leaf shapes on here. Then I'm going to grab my embossing powder. And I'm just using a coffee filter here to capture this. You can use a Tupperware container or a tray or anything, because you just want to save that embossing powder and reuse it. So this is clear embossing powder, and I'm sprinkling it on and just giving it a brush off there with my fingers. And now you can, I don't know if you can see, but you can see that the powder is now stuck to those images, and I'm going to now heat them up. So I'm going to turn my heat gun on to number 2. This is the new heat gun from Stampin' Up. It's got a nice low heat, so you can't burn your paper, which I love. And I'm just going to hold this on the image until it starts to turn. I'm going to turn the camera off while I do this. Okay, so there it is, fully embossed, and I'm just going to take my powder and funnel it right back into my container to reuse that. And then I can either reuse that coffee filter or just throw it away. So the next step I'm going to do, and I'm sure you probably still can't see much on this paper, is I'm just going to, but you will as I sponge on here, is I'm going to add just a little bit of Pool Party ink to each of these leaves. And where the embossing is, it basically resists the ink. It's called Emboss Resist. And you just have that blue shine through behind the leaves. Very pretty. Okay, next I'm going to add some crumb cake ink in the spaces in between. And I'm going to rub quite hard, because this is a nice smooth paper and it can look really nice when it's rubbed in hard. It almost looks like it's been, a brayer's been used on it. I'm just going over all of this. Just filling in all these kind of white spaces. And I'm just doing half of the card. I should have mentioned too before I started, when you're doing clear embossing, it's actually kind of hard to tell when it's done. You have to look for it to be shiny and smooth, because otherwise you would be rubbing off powder as you're going over here. So now I'm going to go over the leaves a bit too, just to tone down the Pool Party a bit. Just want that hint of blue showing through. Well, I've got the crumb cake sponge out here. I'm going to just sponge the edges of the cardstock too, all the way around, including what I just did. I love the definition of a sponged edge on a card. It's almost like adding another layer without more paper. Okay, so the next step is I'm going to take my Cajun Craze ink, and this is the words that come in the stamp set. And I'm just going to stamp them. First I test them, make sure they're going the right way, and in fact it's upside down. And I'm just going to stamp them over the edge of these words here. Now again, this is forming a resist technique in that the ink won't stick on any of the embossed images. This is also a bit of a resist, so I'm just using this Kleenex to wipe it off so I don't accidentally wipe it on my hands and somewhere else on the project later, so then it just looks like those words are kind of peeking through, all very subtle. So next I'm going to take my crumb cake ink and my stamps, which I've already cleaned, and I'm just going to stamp them again on this side, but I want them to be very light, so I'm going to stamp off first and then stamp on my page. Stamp off and then on. off and then on. And I'm going to add in these watermark stamps that come in the stamp set. I just love the stamp set. Are just really pretty. Just going to add some hints of those. And I'm going to go over here and do that too. Okay, and I'm going to add a little bit of this leaf in here too. Just stamp it off. Okay, now I'm going to show you the saying part, which is very cool. We're going to do something called block stamping. So I've got an extra clear block here, and I'm just going to use the block as if it's a stamp on my crumb cake ink, just like this. And again, I'm just going to test it down here first. And so you're going to get that kind of nice grainy kind of image. And I'm going to go right over top of this little piece here. And then I've got almost like a background mat for my words that I'm going to put on here. And I'm going to use the Get Well from Perfectly Penned and Cajun Cranes. Again, I'm just going to test them. And I'm going to stamp it right on here. I love the clear block so you can see what you're doing. And I'm going to add some sponging there too. A little bit of the Cajun Craze. A little bit of Cajun Craze. And I'm going to do it on the edge of the pool party piece here too. So tape on the back of this piece and stick it on. Tape on the back of this piece and stick it on its mat. Okay, and then I'm going to add just a little hole down near the bottom for the brad that I'm going to add. So this brad's quite large, so I'm just kind of roughly eyeballing where I need that to go, down a little bit lower than you'd think. I'm going to take the two ribbons and fold them into a V shape and tuck them in behind here. And then I'm going to stab, hopefully not myself, with the brad and grab those ribbons at the back. So something's holding on to them. And then just kind of arrange them so they look nice here before I fold this over and close it up. Okay, so now I'm going to add some dimensionals onto the back. Just peel the backs off of those. And stick it on the front of my card. And then I take my ribbon scissors and just trim the ribbons up and make them look a little nicer. Always trim them on an angle so they fray less. And there we go. There's my original one. This one I made into sort of a fall wedding card. And then this one's a Get Well. It could be almost anything. And I'll show you another card that I made using the same design. So here's another card I made using the same design. This time I used snowflakes and did a resist on those and added some ink into the center of the snowflakes and the side of the paper too. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed learning how to make this fall card. Check back to stampwithjen.com often for other tips, tricks, and videos. Thank you.